You have something which fits into that category. You'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program? Well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to a Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown and Nevis, or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that when you get on the show, you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, to respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything that we deem is not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, thought that get results. Also, you can follow the live video stream of this program on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio, on our YouTube channel, Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe. Tonight, the Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a very pleasant good evening to my colleagues who are here with us tonight. And let me say good evening, Webbo, to your hard-working staff here at Vaughan Radio, and I want to thank you for the invitation once again. Let me say good evening to all those persons who are listening and viewing this edition of the Let's Talk program. It is indeed a pleasure for us to be in your homes, on your job, in your vehicle, wherever you may be at this time, to have this discussion. Webbo, I want to take this opportunity to offer some words of condolences. I believe that we here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis would have awoken to the sad news on Saturday morning of the sudden and untimely passing of the former manager of the Four Seasons Nevis Resort, Mr. Billy Cuito. Webbo, a gentleman who I have interacted with, an individual who I believe that he has fell in love with Nevis, in my mind, beyond measure. I believe that he has gone to the extent of even tattooing the flag of St. Kitts and Nevis on his forearm. So I want to use this opportunity, Webbo, to offer my very deepest condolences to his family, to the entire Four Seasons family, and to the whole of Nevis, because I believe that all of us will recognize that Four Seasons has certainly touched every corner of the island of Nevis. However, we also would have learned of the discovery and the sad news of the missing teen on St. Kitts, Janelka Romney. The news that I believe, Webbo, that we were not hoping for and not expecting. I want to, as well, Webbo, take this opportunity to offer my very deep condolences to the entire family. A young, vibrant young lady taken away from us, I believe, far too soon. And I believe that I can only imagine the trauma that the family is going through and would have felt on that discovery. Well, but I also want to offer condolences to the Morton family on the passing of one Walter Morton. When I think of Walter Morton Webbo, I think of Social Security. And I believe for many years he would have labored in the wilderness of Social Security here on the island of Nevis in particular, and promoting the cause of Social Security. I believe that he would have done a remarkable tenure in trying to promote that entity here on the island of Nevis. And I think that because of his stewardship, because of his work, I believe that many persons' lives here on the island of Nevis are being made better off. Persons may not have taken Social Security seriously, but I think that he would have been one of those individuals who have sought to encourage our people to take Social Security seriously. So, Webbo, I also want to say those are a few names that I have written. I know that there are other families who are in mourning. I want to take this opportunity to certainly offer my very deepest condolences on the passing of their friend, their loved one, their colleague, or just an acquaintance, and I hope that they can remember that individual with fond memory. Webbo, to those who are celebrating tonight, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life, I certainly want to wish them a very wonderful evening. I know that we are having a number of graduations, and I want to offer congratulations, Webbo, to those young, up-and-coming, inspiring students who are in the process of graduating. I had the privilege of being at the Joestin Library primary school graduation today, and I'm looking and seeing the future, Webbo, right there on stage. And I want to say congratulations to all of those graduates, and I hope that they can continue their educational exploits. And based on what I was sensing on the theme of the graduation, I believe that the education officials are seeking and doing their very best to try and make our children as rounded as possible. So congratulations to all those who would have graduated already, and congratulations to all those who will be graduating over the next few days. I certainly want to wish them all the very best as they continue on this journey. Webbo, thank you once again for this invitation, and I am certainly looking forward to tonight's discussion.
Conrad Nile Library, good evening.
Good evening once again, Webbo, and good evening to my colleagues here around the table, and to everyone who intend to be a part of, who is a part of the show this evening. I welcome my friends in Toronto and in Connecticut once again, my friend in Florida. I say good evening to you guys, and of course we gather once again here to have a conversation about topical issues affecting the people in a positive and negative way, and to give some insights, and also to give clarification where we can on various issues affecting the people. I'm so happy to be a part of this conversation over and over again, Webbo. I would like to join with Mr. Brand to say, to express condolences to Walter Morton, my classmate. Spent 2 years at the sixth form with Walter. Quite a good person, I must say. And of course, he did his tenure with the Social Security. And so I want to extend my condolences to his family and his friend. It kind of reminds me that we are getting somewhere in age. My classmate have passed. It's not many I know so far have passed, who I know that well, you know. So his passing really touched me in a different way, really, and I want to just express my condolences and give thanks to him for his work in spreading the gospel about Social Security, even though sometimes people look at the institution with mixed feeling. I think it's a worthwhile investment, and I do hope that in terms of communication and getting along, all that, or people can get along with the staff, sometimes we find that the medium a bit difficult. And so I hope that there is room for improvement, and there is room for understanding, and of course there is room for reward as it relates to Social Security. Webbo, I'm happy to be here again today. A beautiful day on island with mixed climatic conditions, sunshine and rain, and so it is within many people's life, Webbo. You know, sunshine and rain today is beautiful, tomorrow. But I would like to say to those to always, you know, keep your head up, wake up and live, put those dreams to reality, and you know, help the weak if you're strong, and in an effort to, of course, build a better society, express the medium of kindness and understanding. And sometimes it's very lacking amongst us, not just us as individuals, but of course within the global community, between countries and countries, and between ideologies and ideologies. And so we know it won't be one ideology, or maybe not even two, but I guess with understanding, goodwill, we can overcome quite a lot of the difficulties that sometimes come from the differences within people and across various countries. And so I'm just asking to express the good we have in us, and of course somewhere along the line we'll find things will get better. And so, Webbo, once again, I want to say thank you to your staff, and thank you to my colleagues once again, and I look forward to a healthy debate, healthy conversation this evening, Webbo.
Roger Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and thanks once again for the invitation. I want to say good evening to my fellow panelists, and of course, special good evening to all those who are listening and viewing via the various mediums, Webbo. Webbo, I will want to say happy birthday to all those who are celebrating, and also want to say congratulations to all those who graduated today. The Joycelyn Liebert Primary School would have had their graduation earlier this morning, and the St. Thomas's Primary School would have had theirs this afternoon. I want to say a special shout out to the valedictorian, young Freeman of the Joycelyn Liebert Primary School, and of course to her parents, Colin Freeman and Mrs. Freeman, Michelle Freeman. Special good evening to you both. I know that you are proud parents. Webbo, I also want to move across to those who are sick and shut in, to tell you to hold on, keep praying, and I'm asking us to pray for them. There are a number of persons who are hospitalized at this point in time, and we are praying for you. We are hoping for a speedy recovery, and those who would have passed on, we ask that we keep the families in our prayers. We ask them to hold on to God, let God be the rock and the pillar of comfort. Webbo, we speak of the family of the Freeman in Rollins, and also Walter Morton, who would have passed some time ago, and of course Sterling Marshall. His uncle would have laid to rest in St. Kitts earlier today. So we keep you in our prayers, and we hope that you would find some comfort and have fond memories of them. Well, as I normally say, this is a call-in program. We are asking persons, to call in, give your point of view, ask questions. I'm sure that you can learn something from us, and of course we can learn something from you. So we are encouraging you to call in and to be part of this program as I look forward for a fruitful and healthy discussion this evening. Once again, Webbo, thank you very much.
Okay, so what we got? Before we go to what we got, and before you start, I would like to maybe ask Mr. Brand, because sometimes I wonder, Mr. Brand have about 100 ministries, and he comes here every Tuesday and he hardly tells us anything. What's up with the water? Because I've been hearing a couple other things in the news.
In terms of?
You didn't do another drilling or something to that?
Oh, the drilling project.
So
yes, so we are presently at the Bridges drill site there in Upper Stony Grove. Let me backtrack a bit. We were previously in the Descents area where the drillers experienced some difficulties and some challenges. We had a actual cave-in, and the wellhead at the Descents site was stuck, and they basically tried everything in the book really to try and retrieve that wellhead. They actually brought some pieces of equipment all the way from Trinidad to try and retrieve that. It wasn't successful. They were down to over 600 plus feet, and they would have lost some casing and other parts of the drill head. So the team basically made a decision that the site at Brazers, the depth of the water based on the geology was about 550 plus feet. And we felt that we would have shifted the drilling program to the Brazers site, where the drillers had enough casing to reach that depth. Up to, I believe, yesterday, today, they were about 250 plus feet, trying to attain a depth of 550 plus feet. So that is where we are in terms of the Brazers site. We are hoping that once we would have completed the drilling at the Brazers site, then we will return to the Dason site, where we will use just a different location. And as well, while the contractor would have get on island the additional casing to hit that depth. It's a slow process. It's a tedious process. There are times when we feel that the challenges that the drillers were having, I believe that Nevis have turned out to be a remarkable experience for the drillers. They would have drilled in other parts of the region, in Trinidad and Tobago primarily, but the Nevis experience would have really taught them some different techniques. Our soil profile and the geology of the island of Nevis has proven to be somewhat challenging for any driller, really. And we are hoping that once they would have completed that Brazers site, then we will go back to the Dason site. I also want to remind the public that we would have completed 2 wells already in the Maddens area, and both of those wells combined is providing an additional 600 plus gallons of water per day. So we are making some progress as it relates to our drilling program here on the island of Nevis. The contract was for 9 wells with a total capacity of over 1.2 million gallons of water per day. The public may ask, well, where are you going to store that water, additional water? Well, the reality is that we have had a number of wells on the island of Nevis that are tired. We have been pumping a few of them 24/7, all year round. So some are tired. We are seeing some signs of rapid drawdown in those aquifers. We are seeing some signs as well of possible salt intrusion in some of these wells. So we want to rest some of those wells so they can be replenished. That is part of the plan, where we can reduce the pumping in some of those wells and allow them to replenish the aquifers, allow them to get back to a state where we can once again use them at optimum if needs be. So that is part of the plan when it comes to these new wells that we are drilling. And we are also hoping that in very short order, an additional 400,000 gallon storage capacity will come online there in the Morning Star area. We are presently about to mobilize the erection of a 400,000 gallon tank there in the Morning Star area. We are replacing an old fiberglass tank that has been offline for some time, and that tank, I believe, would bring some significant relief and will release a lot of the pressure off of the Gingerland side of our water infrastructure. Presently, we are moving water all the way from Gingerland as far down as Bath Village, and we are hoping that once we are able to erect that 400,000 gallon tank there in the Morning Star area, we will be able to shift some of that water that we are now drilling, let's say for example in the Dasons area and in the Brazers area, to that tank and relieve some of the pressure off of the Gingerland supply. I think that the Gingerland side has more or less carry a significant load on the island, as well as those primary areas in the Madden side. But I think that with these additional wells, we would be able to spread and ease the pressure a bit more. So that is where we are in terms of our drilling program. That is where we are in terms of the projection for additional storage. And we are hoping that in very short order, we can see a significant improvement, so to speak, in our capacity. I think at the end of the day that this drilling exercise is very important for the development of Nevis. We continue to see the demand from our agriculture sector, where the addition of new farmers, where we continue to see a significant improvement in the housing sector, where additional homes, new homes are being constructed throughout the length and breadth of Nevis. We continue to see new businesses coming on stream that is requesting additional supplies of water. So all of these are adding additional demand on our system. And it is now left for us to try our very best to try and stay ahead of the demand. We, of course, also would have brought online a small desalination plant in the Butlers area that has already been brought online some months ago. And strange enough that the public would not have realized that small desalination plant is already in the system, because we would have lost one of our wells in the Butlers area for a very short period of time, and the desalination plant would have picked up the slack without any stress on our system. So I think that we are in a reasonably good place when it comes to, one, our storage capacity, and we will continue to expand and improve our storage capacity. I believe that we are in a reasonably good place when it comes to our distribution system. The public would have recalled that perhaps over a decade ago we would have embarked on a CDB water enhancement program, where we would have literally changed out almost all of the old cast iron pipes and those old lines throughout the length and breadth of Nevis, and that would have enhanced our distribution system. We would have also constructed a number of tanks over the years. The recent two would have been the one in Hamilton and the one at Pond Hill, and those would have also added some additional storage capacity. And we are now embarking on this drilling program that I feel would bring some additional relief and create greater redundancy in our system. So that is where we are, and we can see, Webbo, that in the not too distant future, as we continue to develop this island, we will continue to make our reassessment. I would go a bit further, Webbo. Just a few weeks ago, we would have had the Chance Water project consultation there at the NIPAC, where it's a significant project for St. Kitts and Nevis. We are looking at ensuring that how we can improve the necessary legislation, how we can reduce our water loss, the percentage of our water loss. We want to add some additional technology in terms of monitor our system. We also want to ensure that we can add some additional human resources, so to speak, as it relates to our water infrastructure. So the overriding structure of our water and our water expansion and our water development, I feel, is in a moderately good place. And I think that the only thing that we can continue to do, Webbo, is to continue to improve on what we are doing at this time.
1 year ago,
yes,
you know, on the eve of Culture 50,
yes,
we were nervous about the water supply and stuff like that, and hence one of the reasons why ahead of that you had launched that program. How comfortable you know, are confident that we would not be having a lot of water wars headlines for the next, maybe at least in the short term?
I am pretty comfortable, Webbo. I think that we are, and we have been blessed, Webbo, with some additional showers of blessing. I think that the showers of blessing also help to relieve some of the stress and the pressure on the system, because what it does, it provides water resource for our farming sector. It provides many persons who would probably think about washing their cars more frequently. That has been reduced. So the additional rainfall also help with the replenishment of our aquifer system. So I am pretty comfortable, Webbo, in terms of where we are with our water supply or water infrastructure. And of course, Webbo, there is always room for improvement, and we will continue to see how best we can improve the infrastructure that we certainly do have.
Okay, so anybody wants to add to that, or maybe into another?
Well, there's a lot coming on stream, it sounds like, as it relates to water. Can we expect a reduction in the price of water at Bay? They say supply. It sounds like there's a lot of supplying, and of course, but I also must say that there continue to be a circumstance where the farmers, and I don't want to say some farmers, so let's just say farmers, are a bit unsettled about the price they have to pay for water. And I know there is some kind of facilitation taking place with the government and the farmers, but I don't know why they keep complaining that they find it very difficult to function in as it relates to capacity and undertaking because of the price of water. So can we expect a reduction in the price of water? Well, at least for the farmers. At least for the farmers. I'm not talking about those who wash their car.
Before Mr. the Minister respond, right? I'm not responding directly to whether or not we will be able to see a reduction in the price, because I don't have any control over that. But I wanted to say something, right? Which I find I now will often make a statement: leadership is not easy, right? And it's a very interesting thing about leadership. It's almost like a chicken and egg situation, but we can flesh out that a little later on. But in reference to Naya mention about the reduction in price, I happen to be at one of the utility places about it. Today is the 1st, on the 29th, the last day of the month, almost the last day. And it was filled to capacity. They were letting you in, and so I had a light moment. They said, well, happened COVID on again, because they are letting some people in and one out, one in, and so on. So I'm sitting next to a gentleman, and we're talking about the fact that this utility, which is not controlled by government, was so jam-packed with people trying to get their bill paid so that they don't get cut off. Right? This is one of the talking utilities thing, right? Which is not controlled by government. And so we're talking about, and the gentleman was pointing out to me how people would pay these bills first and foremost, and other utilities which are more crucial, they're making a heap of noise and won't pay those. One of the reasons is because it's controlled by government, right? Now, why do people are afraid to say these things? They're afraid people get upset with them? Anyway, so the gentleman was remarking, and then I said, one of the things that I think that people who always cussing and jealous of persons who they think have, and they don't have, And I remarked this example where you would pass this particular property, and morning, noon, and night, as we will say locally, the outside lights are burning. And this owner of the property, you happen to know, is a person who is always complaining about the price, the high cost of electricity. And this person is not a child, or these persons, they're adults. And I don't know if they were able to reason. Had they not burned all those lights morning, noon, and night, they can probably save even $20 or $50 for the month. And then you practice things like that. And all of a sudden, you might even save more than the power company drop the rates to give you a saving. And if one were to make that recommendation, the persons probably will cost them, because they will have people to back them up to say, oh yeah, they should drop the thing and stuff like that and so on. And that's why I always like to say I'd like to have a good debate, because nothing is wrong with people always saying, well, you know, raise my thing and so on and so forth. But sometimes you have to understand the cards that you are dealt with, cut down your stress, and you'll see sometimes that you can actually maneuver and make it work. A lot of the people, again, who people get up and jealous and envy of, those are some of the measures that they use to get where they wanted to go. And so I'm just saying that, given an option or a choice, in that example the gentleman was pointing out to me, all that person had to do, at least one little activity, just ensure that in the day, when the sun is providing light, you don't help neglect. Rather, you help yourself. What is wrong with that? But it sounds better and sounds sweeter to make it sound as if the provider of the utility, which most of the time is the government, is heartless. I'm not debating or arguing that they should not bring the electricity rate down. But even if they bring it down, and you can still save another 10% or $50 or whatever off your thing, still do it. So I'm trying to provide a good debate. So this is just the other side of that debate. Now, Mr. Minister, you can go ahead with Naya.
Well, Naya, let me tell you that the water infrastructure on the island of Nevis and the service to the people of Nevis is heavily subsidized still. We have done some preliminary and internal, just rudimentary analysis, and we are nowhere close where we really ought to be when it comes to the cost of water to the general public. With that said, there is neither no immediate plans to either increase or decrease the water.
Mr. Brand, could you hold? Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
There's a question I had for Mr. Brand.
Sure.
Here in St. Kitts, they seem to have also opted for drilling more wells along with the desalination. Do you still collect surface water? And I know in St. Kitts they're saying that all the known sources have pretty much been, the surface sources have pretty much been tapped. Is that the case in Nevis as well? And I noticed that you were talking about a combination of well drilling and storage, increasing storage capacity. And the impression I got down here was that is no point increasing storage capacity if you don't have sources feeding that storage, right? So we don't have the kind of tanks and so on that I see in Nevis. Well, not many of them anyway. I was just wondering, how is there a balance that you try to maintain between your storage and tapping the various sources? Because, you know, we noticed here, I mean, pretty much almost the whole island is under some kind of rationing. And we wonder, I mean, we have had droughts in the past, yes, but this year I don't think it has been too bad rainfall-wise. And so we wonder what has happened in between that has seemed to have caught us off guard. So I just wondered your take on how you've managed to control this in Nevis, and your take on the balance between sourcing and storage.
Okay, caller.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Now, before you go, I just wanted to clarify something. Where you said the water was being rationed?
Well, there's a schedule for pretty much the whole island, except
where
the various communities. Like
okay, walk with me. Hello. Which island do you you said the rationing is going on? Oh, okay. I just wondered. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Brand, go ahead with your answer.
Caller, we have taken a position that we would like to ensure that our tanks are kept at above 60+% at all times. If we can do that, I think that if there is any disruption in the well, if there is any breakage in the system, we can manage. So that is one of the targets that we try to keep as best we can. There are sometimes we go a little bit below that, but there are times when we try to make sure that we maintain our storage capacity up to about 60+%. Now, you ask about surface water. We actually only use about 2%, nothing of any significance when it comes to our surface water, and that comes from the source over in New River. So we don't really use any significant portion of our water supply from surface water. 99.99% of our water comes from deep well drilling, and we have now just brought online a very small desalination plant that is contributing to that as well. So, but our thinking is that we must have storage for a few days. It is, in my mind, an emergency redundancy plan as well. Sometimes we are in a hurricane path. Sometimes you can have disruption with electricity. The good thing about our infrastructure, we have backup generators. We have portable generators at most of our sites. So even if Neblek goes offline, we can still do the necessary pumping. So we try to build those various redundancy into our system. I want to go back to Naya. I was explaining to Naya that there is really no immediate plan to either increase or decrease our water rates at this time. And I will go a bit further because you spoke about the farmers. Presently, the farmers are receiving concessionary water rates. And that is based on the recommendation. Once they are registered with the Ministry and the Department of Agriculture, we provide that concessionary rates to our farmers. Our hope is that our farmers would be as conservative as possible. I believe that they can use the necessary technology, drip irrigation system, that kind of technology that can help them to reduce the amount of water that they use in their fields. I know that we have a number of shade houses on the island of Nevis that are using the necessary technology, and I think that in itself is helping those particular farmers to keep their water consumption at a minimum. And I believe as well that those shade house farmers are using some water catchment mechanism that would also help them to reduce their water consumption from the public supply. So there are a number of approaches. The farmers' concessionary rate, and there is really no short-term or mid-term plan to either increase or decrease the rates for water. And I go back to what I said earlier. The water is still heavily subsidized here on the island of Nevis.
Yeah, if I may chime in here, Webbo. Yeah, I want to say congratulations to Mr. Brand and his team. I believe that we must continue to have foresight in terms of seeing what's on the horizon 5 years, 10 years down the road. As you would have indicated earlier, Mr. Herbert, you would have said that maybe just about 11 months ago, we had some concerns in terms of the water supply, and if we would have water for so many persons, coming home for C50 Culturama reunion. And I believe that based on what Mr. Brand would have said, they would have gone ahead and they would have, drilled some wells and stuff like that. But what I want to say, Webbo, to those of us who, the consumers, is that we ought to continue to conserve, we ought to continue to save, not because at the moment we have water in abundance. I haven't heard in recent time, of water rationing, at least not in my area. So I want to say kudos to Brand again, and to continue to do what you have to do in terms of providing, and have the foresight to continue to provide water for us. As we look around, we see a lot of construction work going on, and if there's a lot of construction work going on, the water consumption would increase, and of course the housing stock is also increasing, and if that too is increasing, we would expect that the water consumption would increase also. So again, the foresight. And Webbo, in terms of what you were saying in terms of conservation, and we can tie it into water, electricity, whatever it is. And you are so correct, because I too would have seen a number of houses on island, with the lights on. And sometimes I wonder, and I even said to some of the persons, jokingly, you're working for Nevlec. We have to understand that, if we can save $1 today, $1 tomorrow, and we will live for another 20, 40 years, as the case may be, these monies, these savings could really add up and go towards something that we want to purchase, or maybe a vacation or something. So I want to encourage persons, and the thing about it too, I'm not a technical person, but I want to believe that if you would turn off the water, if you would turn off the lights, you would ease, especially the electricity. If you were to do that, I want to believe that you would ease the workload on the engines. So we have to be mindful of these small things. We have to look at us as individuals. We have to look at the bigger picture, the Nevlex, the engines, persons, may depend on where you're living, and you have on your water pipes, you may have, especially when there's water rationing, you may have lower pressure and stuff like that. So we have to be very mindful of that. As Brand indicated, there's rain now, so persons may not be washing their vehicles as regularly as when it's more dry, dusty and stuff like that. So we are indeed grateful, and in terms of the rate, the water rates, I want to believe that our water rates here in Nevis is one of the lowest in the region, and we must not take it for granted. We must not take it for granted, because some other islands in the Caribbean, believe it or not, do not have running water going to their homes. And I want to believe that 99.99% of the homes here on island have running water. And that is, an accomplishment. When we look back, to the earlier days, growing up in the 80s and stuff like that, there were many persons on island who didn't have running water to their homes. And now, if you build a home in Nevis and you do not have running water, it's like, you're taking me back to the 70s, the 80s, the 70s, and the 60s. No one is building and do not have the necessary fittings in their home to have water installed in their houses. And I do not think that we should take it for granted. We have come a long way, and we need to continue to conserve. As I said, I've been using this word, fairly regularly, often this evening, because I want it to stick with us, that we must conserve, and conserve. And when we look at it on a different angle, Mr. Herbert, I think I would have heard the Premier on the news this evening. He spoke about the expansion of the airport project, and that is to come on stream shortly. And we are all waiting anxiously for it to come on stream. And when it comes on stream, we would understand that no doubt there would be some usage for water, additional usage for water on that project. More persons will be coming in, and if more persons are coming in, the guest house, the hotels, would be, occupied to, maybe not to capacity, but at least more persons would be in, and if more persons are in, then, the water consumption would automatically increase. So again, Mr. Brand, continue to do the good work.
Yes, I think, personally, I always thought that water is not expensive here on the island.
You say it's not expensive?
It's not expensive. Recently, any little up in price, people would feel it in some way or the other. But I always thought that I wish they can find that balance between, say, electricity and water. Maybe put some of the water bill on the electricity, or vice versa, or something like that, because water always seems to be quite inexpensive here on island. And but it's about policy as it relates to the farmers, I suppose. It's probably not about just water, I suppose. But having such foresight is good. But the question I want to ask, is it because we seem to be in a good place with water, why we are not enforcing that stipulation about building your home with a cistern? And because I realize a lot of houses that's been built by, say, so-called low-income houses. I say the so-called because they look like high-income houses, but the low-income houses, I'm not sure if there's that stipulation that they build with a cistern. I know sometimes it costs another 100,000, and it's quite easy to say that. Of course, that's probably the main reason why they are not enforcing that. I'm not sure if it's a policy in place that is not being honored. Just a little enlightenment from
we do require that homes, businesses try and, if they can, construct cistern. But we have also built in a secondary option of water catchment facility. What we have done, for example, a lot of the schools, community centers, health centers, we would have outfitted them with some of these black storage tank that also help to bring some relief from the water system, from the water infrastructure going to those. So there is that requirement for cistern. There is that requirement, if not a cistern constructed, then you have the option of a water catchment mechanism, tank, whatever it is. So that is in place. I hear you when it comes around the cost to construct a cistern. Some persons have used that argument, but sometimes I just ask them if they are able to do a cost analysis. For example, it may cost you an extra $20,000 to construct a cistern. Typical mortgage now is running you 20, 25 years, up to 30 years. How much would you pay on your water bill or for water bill versus a small increase amount on your mortgage? If you've done that analysis, then you can see which one works out to be better in the long run. I want to thank you, Roger, for your comment. I believe that we continue, Roger and gentlemen, to try and make a desperate, concerted effort to improve our water infrastructure. I believe that if we are sustainable in our water infrastructure, then I think that we can solve a number of problems. Sanitation, adequate amount of water goes directly towards sanitation. Sanitation goes towards good health and well-being and welfare. Your water infrastructure, if you can get that to where you really want it, then you can also deal with your agriculture and your food security. If you can also expand and improve on your water infrastructure, it becomes a lot more attractive for both local and foreign investors. Because someone who might be thinking about engaging in a particular type of investment that may consume a significant amount of water, if the water infrastructure is suspect, then that person may not want to. So it solves quite a number of problems for the island once we can get our water infrastructure correct. Roger, you have said a lot, but I want to really place on the record my sincere thanks and appreciation, first of all, to the Premier and Minister of Finance. I know sometimes when I go to cabinet with water-related requests, jokingly, they may say, Minister Brian, you again. You know, but I think that Premier and Minister of Finance and the entire cabinet, my colleagues, have been very supportive of all that we are trying to do with water on the island of Nevis. And I certainly want to place on record my sincere thanks and appreciation to my colleagues, because 9 out of 11 times I would hear yes. There may have been the 1 or 2 times, but I think that they have been extremely supportive. I think that they understand the mission, they understand the vision as to what it is that we are trying to do. And I think that with that kind of support, I believe that make my job a whole lot easier in terms of trying to deliver what we need to deliver to the people of Nevis. And I think that the team that we are trying and working every single day to try and deliver water infrastructure, road infrastructure, food security, our education, healthcare to the people of Nevis. And while we continue to do that, I just wanted to say that and place on record, Roger and gentlemen, that they have been extremely supportive of the vision and the mission that we are outlined when it comes to our water infrastructure.
Brand, I want to believe too that, any cabinet would want to be supportive to the minister who is responsible for water, because it's interlinked. You would have indicated that water would give rise for food security, when we speak to food security, we speak to sustaining ourselves, we speak to agriculture, and of course your colleague minister, Evelyn, is the minister responsible for agriculture. So I cannot see him, saying no to you. That's just me looking in, because I want to believe that, he would want his ministry, the agriculture, to bloom, and not just for him or for the farmers, but for Nevis on a whole. And of course to bloom to the point that we can do some exportation, of crops and stuff like that. Years gone we would have been, sending over, I don't want to say export to St. Kitts, but doing business with St. Kitts in terms of, food, ground provisions and stuff like that. And I want to believe that Naya would have indicated last week that further field station and stuff like that. So I want to believe that if we could reach to that stage again, because we have better vessels now, in terms of, I think gone are the days when you used to have these sailing boats and stuff. We have boats now that are propelled by, motor, by engine and stuff like that. So I think we have the means of transportation, or easier means of transportation. So it's just for us now to, to go back to the farm, go back to farming. The water is available at this point in time, and we do what we have to do to sustain ourselves. And when we do that, our costs, of living, that would lower dramatically. If you're accustomed to buy maybe cabbage, lettuce, and stuff like that from the supermarket, and you can now plant them in your backyard garden, and you can eat what you grow, and that would cut back on costs. And all of this, comes as a result of the policies and the availability of water. Because if you're going to ask one to farm, it doesn't matter how good a farmer you are. If you do not have the water, which is one of the main ingredients for any crop, then you're bound to fail. So again, I believe that based on what you would have said, we are heading on the right path in terms of water.
Well, I will hope it brings some improvement in agriculture, because I'm not convinced that we're doing very well with agriculture at all. But that's a different topic. But Mr. Brand, road improvements at Penny's, looking like there's lots been going on there, and am I to expect something like a pedestrian walkway along that path? Because that's something I was suggesting before Mr. Fifield was born, since 1997. When I was running in election, that along that particular stretch of road, I was requesting a pedestrian walkway, because that stretch of road is being walked often by local and mostly tourists. You will find when
not to interrupt you,
Yes,
what
sir.
I would like to see is a boardwalk from Penny's all the way to Charlestown. But go ahead.
Well, that's another thing.
I believe you're in a position to.
That's even stretching it, even more. Yes, but that path is being walked a
Yes.
lot by, even when the tourist boat comes in.
Yeah, we have it, yeah.
They don't want a taxi sometimes. Some of them cheap. In groups, they walk a lot along that path in a big way, and sometimes I can see the discomfort, not just the tourists, people, bike riders too. I always thought a pedestrian walkway along that path, maybe down to the point of Malcolm Gishard there, down to the beach, is something that will be not just attractive, but create some convenience. And So I was wondering if I'm to expect something like that, or we're just looking at another road.
What we have done now is to, in that area, kind of widen the carriage a bit.
I see that.
Because of the reason that you have highlighted. We noticed that there are a number of persons who actually walk the bypass road as well, go into that area, and from there come back into Charlestown. And we are taking the opportunity to widen the carriage. If you notice, from around the corner by the gas station coming back to Pinneys, we would have extend the side of the road. The thinking is that we can maintain that width where we can have that pedestrian crossing, give them a lot more safety as they walk along the road. And it is all about trying to improve the safety on our roads. It can also be a health benefit as well, where more persons are doing walking and fitness and that kind of thing.
The pedestrian crossing, Mr. Brown, if I may, you're adding some more pedestrian crossing, you said, right? For safety?
Pedestrian crossing in that area?
Yes.
No, I did not say adding pedestrian crossing, but we have, I believe there was one in front of TDC area.
Yeah, Craft House.
And Craft House. Yeah, those would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you mentioned then, the pedestrian crossing and what they do. You ever thought about education on using the pedestrian crossing? It may not come under your purview, but I find that is given too many times as an excuse anyway. Whose duty it is to make sure that people know and understand the pedestrian crossing. You know, there are a lot of things, in my view, in the society that we complain about that end up in big problem. But all we do is just talk, and I keep asking the rhetorical question: are we a complaining society, or do we really want solutions? Anyway, sorry about that, but you wanted to answer the question about education and the pedestrian crossing. No, I was asking whose job it is anyway, or you ever thought that perhaps that is necessary?
I think it's necessary, Webbo.
But you don't know who.
I know that we have had a very good working relationship with the traffic department, and I'm certain that it is something that we can work with them on to try and educate the public. We provide the pedestrian crossing. We remark them. We are presently waiting a new piece of machinery to. If you notice that there are some that have lost their presence, really, that is because of some machinery issue that we are having. Once we get that piece of machinery, then we would literally go and remark a lot of these pedestrian crossing and the lines and all of that. But I think it's something that absolutely we can work with traffic. I think that the partnership with traffic has been good over the years, and it's something that I think that will definitely benefit the public, because I must say to you, Webbo, that I drive on the road, and sometimes I really see some near misses because of, as you put it, perhaps either a lack of understanding as to how persons use the pedestrian crossing, or perhaps how the motorists themselves treat the pedestrian crossing. And I think that it would be a good thing if we can continue that partnership on this particular issue and ensure that the public is put in a much safer position as it relates to our pedestrian crossings.
Well, in terms of education, safety, everyone must look out for their own safety. I don't think that if a car is approaching the pedestrian crossing, someone should simply just decide to walk across. And I know that the car or the vehicle is supposed to stop. It's supposed to stop. but it doesn't stop all the time. And who would put themselves in the pathway? So I would encourage the pedestrian to, in attempting to cross, make sure the oncoming vehicle stops. Otherwise, suppose you attempt to cross and the vehicle doesn't stop. I mean, I find myself in a bad position once, and because I was very hurry, coming through Charlestown, and I thought the driver in front of me was just wasting time. And I came out from behind the driver, not realizing that the driver in front of me was waiting for someone to cross. You know, and here am I, you know, saying I'm wrong. It's okay. And it was a bad thing I did, and I actually had to apologize to the driver when I met him the next time, because so sometimes it's not just the driver that's in front approaching the pedestrian walkway, but sometimes it's even the driver behind, you know. But my advice, and I say again to the pedestrian, don't attempt to cross if there's an oncoming vehicle. I know that the rule or the understanding is that as you approach the pedestrian crossing, a vehicle is supposed to stop. But
really? That's the rule?
Well, let me take back that.
Oh.
That is the expectation if someone is standing at that point to cross. But it doesn't always stop, so be careful.
No, the point why I mentioned it is that just like anything else in communication and effective communication, pedestrians, drivers, crossing guards, and the entire public must be of a common understanding of what the guidelines or the rules are. And that is, whether it is in crossing the road or whatever, it is important that you have effective communication, because here it is, Naya said, when you, as a driver, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm saying how I understood it, once you are approaching the crossing, you're supposed to stop. That's, am I correct in what you're saying?
Yes, but I took back that.
Or you took it back?
Yes.
So what I'm saying now is that somebody may have it, else may have it. You see what I'm saying? Now, other persons may feel that that is correct, and so Naya was supposed to stop. And so they just made the crossing and just keep walking. And I think at the back end of what you were saying, Naya, in your appeal, and I learned, and in, you know, whether it is a rule or not, in terms of crossing, make sure that you are satisfied that the driver knows that you intend to cross, and that they have indicated by slowing down or stopping that you can cross. You have some instances, for instance, that the crossing guards, you know, they might be 2 feet away, and a vehicle is approaching. They grab the person, the child or whoever it is, and step quickly onto the crossing. That's true?
Yes.
But you all didn't want to say it.
I
Okay,
was
so
waiting.
go ahead.
I was
Well,
waiting.
go on. Well, you finish. Walk with me. You finish up 5 years.
Yeah, Webbo, it's indeed true. What I would add to that, Webbo, is that it is important for us as pedestrians, for us as drivers, to initiate that eye contact. That eye contact is very important. That eye contact would indicate to the pedestrian and the driver, you know, who should stop, in my opinion, and who should go. Sometimes, you know, as humans, we drive, or sometimes we even walk, and for some reason we are distracted, and we can easily get hit because we didn't get that eye contact. And as you speak, Webbo, to to the crossing guard. I would have seen that numerous occasions, Webbo, that you're driving along, and you as the driver, you feel as if that, yes, I have the right of way, so to speak. You would see children walking along the side, and as they reach the pedestrian crossing, the crossing guard would just come across and stop you. And I don't believe that is correct. I believe that the children can wait if it is that they are supposed to wait in terms of the proximity of the vehicle to the crossing. And because we have to understand that these vehicles are operated by humans, but they are mechanically built, and if they are mechanically built, anything could happen. The brakes can give away, anything can happen at any point in time, and we have to be careful. And I believe, and I want to say here, that I'm going to go out on a limb, that the onus should be on the pedestrian. And the reason why I'm saying this, Webbo, yes, if I'm the driver and I hit the pedestrian on the pedestrian crossing, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble with the law. But let me look at it this way. If I hit you as the pedestrian, you might have or get broken limbs, ribs, maybe a leg, a hand. Depend on the severity, you may even have to get steel plate maybe in your leg, just to draw and reference. Maybe it's a little extreme because you would be expecting to be driving slower, yes, but I'm using this example. And then 5 years, 10 years down, little rainfall, lightning start to flash, you're in pain. You are in pain. Yes, you would have probably gotten some money, maybe a couple $100,000, but you are in pain when the driver would have probably maybe spend maybe less than $1,000 to fix back his or her car, and he is on. You are in pain. So I want to believe that the onus really should be more so on the pedestrian, but I would say both, because we have to initiate eye contact, both the pedestrian and the driver. But as I said, car can't feel, human can feel. The driver would spend monies because no doubt they will get a fault, but we have to understand, and I believe that the crossing guards in Nevis, I've seen it basically all over Nevis. You are driving, you are approaching, children are walking along the side, and then just hustle the children across, and you as the driver have to apply brakes. And I believe that, I do not know if I believe that maybe it's more education, if more education for us as drivers, more education for us as pedestrian, more education for the crossing guards. And I'm not hitting the crossing guards. I'm really not hitting, because I believe that they for mostly they are doing a wonderful job. They are keeping our children safe in getting them across, assisting them in getting across, from one end to the other end safely. So I'm not hitting you. I'm just speaking of, observations. And I believe that if we observe these things, we need to bring them to the fore. And as you, Mr. Herbert, would have said over the years, this is talk that get results, and we are hoping that we can get results, because these results, based on observation, could very well save a life. These, results down the road, may be able to save a limb, maybe to save one of spending monies that they may not have. They may have to probably go to a bank to get a loan or something like that. So, it's observations, and we really ought not to be afraid to speak of what we see. We might be afraid to speak of what someone else told us, but once we see it, we must speak of it, because it would help us. Because guess what? One, it may be one of our family member might be the driver, one of our family member might be the pedestrian, one of our family member might be the crossing guard. So I believe, and Webbo, I don't know if I can just segue just a bit, saying that we are on the road, and I believe all this is knit into road safety. Webbo, sometimes the police, they're on the road, and some of them are decked in the vests, which is really, really good.
Reflective.
The reflective vest. And some are not. And I believe that whoever is responsible, I believe that for the safety of our policemen who are doing a wonderful job, Webbo, I believe for the safety of them and for even us as drivers too, those policemen, they need to have on their reflective vests.
Maybe they don't want to be seen.
But we speak in safety.
Yeah, but they are thinking that they catch you off guard.
No, but it's the same way, Naya. If maybe I don't want to wear my seatbelt, but then what happens if I don't wear my seatbelt and I get in an accident? I might fall out of the car, out of the vehicle. Whereas if I had on my seatbelt, it would have possibly saved my life. We would have seen accident in the recent times, at least, within the last 2-3 years, that persons would have got in accident and they were thrown out of the vehicles. And I'm saying that it is important to wear the seatbelt, as it is important for the policemen to wear the reflective vest. And even, if possible, those who are walking, especially early mornings and evenings, who go in for the exercise, if it is possible for you to wear, a bright color top or have the reflective vest, it would be good too, for your safety, for the drivers to spot you, way ahead, So I believe that, it is just, all in road safety, because we want all to be safe. We are one, however it goes. We are one community, one society, one island, one people, and we are so small. Everybody related. We want the best for everyone. We want everyone to be safe. As I said, the police. I'm not knocking you. I think that you are really doing a good job. Some people, they frown when they see the policemen out, and they maybe jump on the phones and what have you, to indicate, the police is in that location or whatever location. But I believe that the police, should continue to be on the road, because when the police are on the road, we are mindful and we slow down, because we know that the police may be around the next corner, down the road, up the road. And if we are mindful of that, we would be driving slower, because we do not want to be ticketed. But apart from being ticketed, we should be more concerned that we do not want to overrun anyone. We do not want to get in an accident. We have to be so conscious. And the police being on the road, I believe, would, help to negate, these things, because people would be, more concerned of feeling it in their pocket, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I agree with you. The police must do their job. Sometimes, they would prefer to have a society which is perfectly orderly and everything, and they don't have to come out to catch those who don't have no license, or who didn't re-register their vehicle and so forth. And I suppose all of that, constitutes a society. There can be those who are trying to squeeze their way through and so forth. And so I don't have a problem with the police being out. And so you're talking about the vest. Sometimes they want to really catch you off guard, and you might see some of them in vests, and one of them way down the road, much closer to you, with no vest on. And he have his gun, and the minute you see them and you start put on your seatbelt, he say, I get you, you know. That happened to me the other day.
Okay, let me just say. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your panelists.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think it's an excellent advice that I'm sorry, his name is escaping me right now.
Roger.
The young man that was just speaking in terms of the police and what can help the police. And one of the things that I've always wondered about is why don't we use what we have in NNC to do demonstrations so that the public can see and understand clearly what the expectations are? Because I did not learn to drive in Nevis, first of all, huh? And so sometimes I have some questions about what's taught here, because I see things being done differently than what I was taught. Maybe what I was taught was wrong, I don't know. But we could use NNC as a way, the traffic department, to do demonstrations on that channel. Just like how you have the Let's Talk show on a Tuesday night, they can decide on a specific evening when everybody's at home and watching, and do demonstrations so that people can see and understand and help protect road safety. Now, one of my big beefs is, and I complain about this a lot, in the Morning Star area, when you go along the main road, as the road bends, that continues on up to Gingerland, if you're getting off the road right on that corner, you would ease into the middle lane. And quite often, the traffic that's coming down from Gingerland into town are coming around that corner right in that middle lane also. So you're looking at a vehicle that's coming directly at you. It's frightening. And like I said, I've complained about this before because I experience that regularly, to the point where many times I would go down the back road down to Brown Hill and come out onto the main road before I go up to the main road to get out of the area where I live. Because, and traffic, I mean, the only time we see the traffic officers is downtown writing a ticket. We don't see them much on the road. So perhaps more emphasis can be put on being out there on the road and helping people to realize what they may be doing wrong and correct it, so that there's not a loss of life on the road. That's my contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Webbo, the caller spoke to the corner around Morning Star, where when you're traveling from Charlestown going to Gingerland area and you want to turn right to go off the island main road, you would go into what I describe as a box.
Yeah.
And then you would cross over to the right when it is cleared to go wherever you are going. Webbo, I want to jump from there to the bottom of Zion.
Same thing.
There's a box at the bottom of Zion just by...
let me just take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hello, good evening, Webbo, and to your panelists. Webbo, I want to talk about something totally different from what you guys starting about. I hope it's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Something, it's concerning, something that I've seen been taking place over in my neck of the woods. Now there's I'm going to try to be short because I don't think I have a whole lot of credit. But there's a gut over in my area, right next to where I live. And I see some excavation works taking place over there, It got, someone buy some property down in a gut. I mean, who buys property in a gut? And who sells property in a gut? Anyhow, the individual bought some property down in a gut and fill in the gut and build a house. Okay? Now, when it rains, like I said, the guy is filling the side of the gut to acquire more land or more property. But when it rains now, the gut is there doing what it's supposed to do, taking water from the mountain, taking it down to the sea. The gut wasn't disturbing anybody. because it was never a problem because it was doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But, you know, I guess the individual got some land cheap down in the gut, and then he built a property on it. And then when it rains heavy now, the water seemed to be maybe threatening his property. And now, because, well, he have access to government excavators and government front-end loaders, now he's putting some rock to protect his property. Now, maybe Mr. Brand could chime in after I'm finished. My question is, so who's paying for all of that? I mean, because one have access to government front-end loader and government excavator and government heavy equipment, it doesn't mean that you should abuse your privileges and do stuff like that. I mean, who's paying for all of that? When government equipment breaks down, they gotta be fixed. Taxpayers paying for that. Taxpayers paying for the tires that the equipment uses, diesel, and like I say, if anything breaks down, taxpayers have to pay for that. It's unfair for us taxpayers. Some of us out there catching hell, struggling to survive, struggling to pay bills and pay neglect and pay our property tax and put our children to school and stuff like that. When guys simply because they have access to government equipment will abuse their privilege. It's not fair to the rest of us. It's definitely not fair to the rest of us. And you know, this individual have no sensitivity towards other people. With in terms of the dust, my wife have a house right next to the gut, and then when he's filling in the gut with all the stuff, the dirt and stuff, all the dust coming back down in the house, and my children complaining they gotta be keeping the windows closed, and the house is so hot, and then they have to be cleaning, and the guy has no sense, no. He doesn't even give any warning. Well, I'm going to be doing some dust here and stuff like that. So close up your windows. Nothing like that. No kind of sympathy. No kind of no sensitivity towards other people. All about themselves. I could remember one Christmas. I mean, a government front-end loader out there showing down in a gut to fill up the gut. On a Christmas day, when people are supposed to be home, resting and eating the turkey and the Christmas cake and stuff. And he's over there with a front-end loader, government front-end loader, creating a whole lot of dust and making a whole lot of noise. I have a elderly cousin that lives in the neighborhood, and she's asking me, Donald, who's that making all that noise over here on Christmas Day? I mean, people got to be more sensitive to other people. And Sundays when people are supposed to be resting, they're making all this noise and creating all this stuff when people in the house trying to get a little rest. Mr. Brand, maybe you could chime in on this. It's unfair to the rest of us who have to pay taxes, and people could just take up government equipment and do what they like with it, and it's like nobody could say nothing about it. But I'm saying something about it because I'm not pleased about it. It's in my neck of the woods, and like I said, the gut was there doing what it's supposed to do. And then when you're gonna go and tinker with the gut, there's an area there where there's just the soil, and so when there's a big rain again, all of the silt gonna channel right down in the ocean and kill the marine life down in the ocean. And there are some big silk cotton trees on the way down, which one of them already been destroyed simply because of people greediness. These things shouldn't be allowed to happen, Mr. Brand. So I just wanted to highlight that because I'm ticked off about it because it's right in my neck of the woods. I grew up in this area, spent all of my life in this area. I know this area like the back of my hand. And to see some guy just going to come and just mess with the gut like that, it rubs me the wrong way. Thanks for the time, Webbo. Thanks for the time. I hope Mr. Brand could give me a real sensible explanation for all of that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Caller, I want to thank you for your call in the first instance, and I noticed that you said that someone is building in the gut. First of all, that is illegal. That is illegal. From where I sit, caller, I have not received any requests for. You said that these equipment are government equipment. I have not received any requests on my desk for the use of any government vehicle by any private individual. So that is something definitely I need to have a look at.
Yeah, Webbo, just before the caller called, we were talking about the traffic, and I had moved from Morning Star and come straight to the bottom of Zion, where we have the bottom of Zion, you know, what I call a box also. If you are coming down Zion Hill and you are going right, you would go into the middle of that box. And when it is cleared, you would go right to go across where the bus stop is. And
let me just take this. Thank you for holding. Go ahead.
Put on a greeting and love Brother Webber, and put on a greeting and love Brother Nayat, and put on a greeting and love Brother Spencer. I just like to follow up on what the caller just outlined to you, and you did not give a proper response to the caller, Brother Brand, as being a member of the NIA. If you say that you ain't seen nothing in family and you're there, well, outline to the caller that you make some inquiry. Who have a cert to give that person those equipment to utilize? That's what you're supposed to be. So I hope you do that by in the writing of Wednesday morning, that you outline these initiatives to give the assurance to the people of that area that this thing won't continue, because we not can. We don't want a con artist around here. We want respectful things to done for our people in development, and that what money can bribe the people. So I hope that you give the president and the people in that area a proper response and stop that working what is taking place, and make sure that person be removed from that area. You all have a blessed night.
I thank you.
yes, Webbo. You know, the bottom of Zion there, I would have observed too, you know, so many times, you know, I live across the bottom of Zion to go right. And oftentimes I would have to hold far left instead of going into the box. Because persons coming from the Butler's area, for some reason, they're always coming up and coming into the box. I can recall, you know, at least one time I was inside of the box and a vehicle was coming up, and the vehicle was coming stem on to me, and the vehicle could not have gone around me, and instead of going around, the vehicle came on the inside. So I was even saying, suppose a vehicle was coming down.
Suppose it was coming down, hold that. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Herbert. It's been a long time since I haven't really called into your program. But I am going to join forces with the two previous callers. Mr. Brand,
Yes, sir.
let me say for the report, this is Eric Stapleton. I have known you from my boyhood days, a guy who I've got utmost respect and love for.
Caller, before you go on, I could intervene, as you just mentioned who you are.
Yes, sir.
You said it's a long time you haven't called in.
Yes.
Since you, a very light moment, since you had encouraged your cousin to take out his horse. Anyway, just go ahead. So you're doing good.
Mr. Herbert, very easy, but anyhow.
Yeah, just go ahead. I was just greeting you.
What I want to say to you this evening.
Yes.
You have some people working in your ministry, not doing you any justice. And it may not reaches you yet, but people in the general public has been speaking and speaking loud. I've been seeing government equipment and machines abused by people who supposed to have better sense. And you know, the part that is hurting about the whole situation is that they would come here and they would do 3-4 hours for the friend, and you next door, and you want a stone moved, and you ask for them to move the stone for you. And they say to you straight up, this is not your time. Mr. Brand, the previous callers have said something to you. And I am not going to go into details on the radio. But I would make the time to sit with you and give you some information that you need to look into. They are abusing the government equipment and services while people are looking on and complaining bitterly. I leave it right here.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Webbo. Yes, I was just basically saying, Webbo, that persons, who are driving along the pathway, bottom of Zion, please be cognizant that, you keep left, and the inner portion of the road, the box, is for persons coming down Zion Hill who intend to go down onto the project or across the road by the bus stop. We do not want to have any accident, so I'm just appealing to the general public, just to be cautious and, understand. Because that corner to Webbo, it gives a little pull. When you're coming up from Butler's, he actually gives you a little pull to pull you inside. So you have to be able to control your speed. You need to probably slow down and, take your time and come around on your side instead of, coming around in a way that can possibly cause an accident. So I just wanted to point out that.
I just before you start, Mr. Brown, I would just the previous caller who had called and was talking about the gut and building in the gut and stuff like that. Which department will that fall under?
That would be under the planning department.
Planning.
Yes.
The planning department.
Yes.
That makes sure that everything is. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a planning matter one, and for a building to be approved in an area that is close to a gut, there need to be a certain minimum setbacks. So if that has been compromised, then that's why I said to the caller that is illegal. I want to thank the callers, Webbo, for putting this on the table. I've given them my assurance that it is definitely something that I will be investigating and see what this is all about. I know the last caller very well. He is a man who I know perhaps by tomorrow morning he's going to find me and we'll have that conversation. So I just wanted to thank the callers, Webbo.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, Webbo, me again.
Yes.
I would like to thank those callers for supporting me with their calls to back up what I say.
Yeah.
No, Webbo, this thing been going on for years now. This thing ain't just started. This thing been going on for years, long before COVID. Before COVID, I went and I explained it to Fiscal planning. I told him about the situation. Mr. Brand knew about it because I went to Mr. Brand before. I went to Mr. Brand. I went to his permanent secretary, who was Mr. Stapleton. I went to Fiscal plan. I even went to the health department because of the dust factor that was coming down in my wife's house and messing up the whole house. Have to be, closing up the windows and battling dust, on a regular basis. It's not now I'm seeking some justice or some kind of sensible explanation for this. Like I said, I've been to Fiscal planning. I've been to the health department because at the time when they was out there filling in the side of the gut with his government front end loader and all dust ending up in my wife's house, and all the noise and stuff. My same Danella that reads news on Van Radio, she was studying for her, she was in free farm at the time. She was studying for her final exam. And she has to be studying through all this noise and all this dust. So that's why I say these people don't care nothing about nobody, just care about themselves. This thing been happening for years. And it gotta end. It gotta end at some point. Because it's not making the government look good. It's not making public works look good. It's not making the government look good. And I'm going to talk about it. Who want to vex? But we can't continue to run a country like this, man. You understand what I'm saying? We can't continue like this. Something got to change. Anyway, I'll leave it here for now.
Yes.
Yeah, certainly. There are time things goes on and behind the back of the bosses, and this is what this show is about. Some people hearing the grievances, and hopefully, some solutions may come their way. And of course, I'm sure that particular caller, who I know very well, he's not a person who will want to just create some waves. I think he's probably been in some way, greatly affected. So I could understand his concern and his emotions, But we see leakages in various forms, and it happens very widespread, it is something that I think not just this government, but any government should be mindful about, when things are happening behind the back of the minister, our ministers, and especially when it's not happening in a way that is communal. And I personally refer to these things as leakages, and the taxpayer sometimes bear the brunt of the expense, and that imbalance is sometimes created, and it's caused the public to lose trust, because how come you can have government equipment doing what you want and off days, put it that way, and then the general public have to bear the expense and cannot enjoy such privilege. I think these are imbalances that sometimes are created, and of course I'm very happy to hear when people come forward and talk about it. I mean, the people are not always right, and sometimes some clarification, some explanation is required, but one would hope that that satisfaction is earned, that satisfaction is felt, and so be it. The people, the government official represent the people, and of course the people sometimes have to voice their inconveniences. And so one would expect that there will be some kind of reaction and clarification to the situation. I don't know the particular circumstance, but I know, yes, building in a gut is questionable, and some people would fill up the gut, but I think that sometimes create great problems in terms of the water flow. And I always tell people, everybody build a house and want to have the best, nice level lawn, and they don't realize what they're creating for their neighbors, because the water now change course and end up in the neighbor's kitchen and downstairs and things like that. And sometimes it lead to great animosity and communal misunderstanding, which of course could have been alleviated by people really, and departments of government exercising in the correct way their authority. And I'm for one, start to build, and then they come up by me and say, "Nah, what you building? Don't you're supposed to have planning?" And I would apologize and then fall in line. And so I can accommodate all types. I can accommodate all types. These days, if you want to put up a sign, you have to get the approval of the planning department and all that. And sometimes I think it's a bit excessive. But I mean, sometimes it's really makes sense, because it's not me alone. We are dealing with other circumstances, other people, and other privileges which sometimes are compromised by your actions. We're talking about running modern and sensitive society and community. And so Mr. Fifield, what do you think?
Yeah, I the caller spoke to the natural waterways being interrupted, and I feel strongly about it, in terms of, I can't speak to the specifics of what the caller said, but in a general sense, I do not believe, and I think that it's legislated, it's law. You should not interrupt or channel, divert the natural waterways. The natural waterways should be as it is. Of course, if it is clogged, then you would want to clear it so the water could run freely. But when you're going to interrupt, the natural waterways, then you're going to cause problems. You're going to have problems on your hand, and that ought not to happen. So I would want to appeal to us all as Nevisians, as persons residing on Nevis, to allow the waterways to be, try not to interfere with it, and I believe that we would have a safer place. As I said, I'm just speaking general. I cannot speak to what the caller called and said, but if it is a concern, it's a really good concern, because if we are to just allow persons to interrupt water flows, then other persons may feel empowered to do that, throughout the island, and then we could find ourselves in small navies in a very peculiar position, and and as to use Nair's phrase, water could now be going in person's kitchen. So we want that ought not to happen. So that's my little 2 cents on that.
Well, I think that what we have tried to do from a planning point of view, Roger is correct that building in guts and that kind of thing can create serious problems downstream, and also create problems in the direct vicinity. It is the mandate of one of the departments that I lead that these kind of construction activity ought not to occur. I'm going to give you a real example. There are some areas in Ramsbury, for example, where persons would have done some construction, put up some walls, buildings very close, and has created some challenges in the Ramsbury, and that's just one area. So I just want to assure the caller that this is something that definitely would be deeply looked into, and wherever there is some irregularities, we will have to deal with it.
Well, I don't know if we have exhausted that, and if we can probably move on. I think that the minister would have assured the callers that he's going to look into it. So maybe we just probably need to give him a little time. But
go ahead.
Yeah, I yield.
No. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, Webbo, I just want to say quickly that we are now at the 1st of July, and effective today we are back to normal, so to speak, in terms of the VAT, the 17% VAT. We know from January to the end of June, it was reduced, and now we are back. So, I believe that, yes. So it would have some impact, I believe, but I want to believe and hope that persons would have been prudent in their spending, and knowing that it would go back to 17, as the Prime Minister would have indicated some months ago. So I'm hoping that persons would have got an opportunity to save, and going back to 17% wouldn't really be too much on us, as hopefully we were able to save some money. And also at the end of last month in June, effective today onwards, the what it's called, the wallet boost,
yes,
JAD pocket, that is history, and so it's like a double. So persons would not be getting the $250, what I call top up, going forward, at least not in the near future, unless there is an announcement around the corner somewhere. So I really hope, persons, would have used the $250, wisely, do whatever they had to do with it. They could have shopped, they could have paid their utility bills and stuff like that. And I know that it's going to have an impact, because I know many persons, looked forward with great anticipation for that $250 to assist them in paying the grocery bills and also the utility bills. And I was one Webbo who thought, I was probably overly optimistic that we would have not gone back to the 17%, and it would have remained as is in terms of January to June. But that didn't materialize, so we just have to, understand. We have to budget. We have to, now, be prudent in our spending, and try to save and put something away for a rainy day, because we never know what tomorrow may bring. I know many persons would say, yes, I don't know what tomorrow may bring, that's why I'm going to live my life, that is why I'm going to, but we still have to be conscious, because, although we know that we're not going to live forever, in reality, we're still hoping to live for years to come. And if we are really hoping to live for years to come, then we have to plan for years to come. And one such way of planning would be financial. We have to be able, to plan our lives, how much monies we would want to save over a particular period. And
let me just say, good evening, thank you for holding. I'm sorry, good evening, thank you for holding.
Good night, Webbo, to you and your panelists. I just want to be short. The gentleman there who's talking right now, don't make it sound like the people had the money in their hand. Nothing into 50 to save. Remember, it's supposed to go towards the bill. So there's nothing there wasn't any cash in their hand, so nothing in that to save. That's the problem, Mr. Carl. Thank you.
Okay. Caller, you're gone, but maybe you could listen off here. But in terms of, no, I just wanted, in terms of the point that he made, that nothing was in it to save. Consider this.
They would. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Just go ahead. I'm just filling in case you missed it. So if you already missed it, just go ahead.
Yeah, Webbo, I want to say to the caller that although you didn't get the money in your hand, let's look at it this way. Let me try to put it as simple. You have a utility bill that costs, give some simple figures, some simple maths, that costs monthly, let's say I'm electricity, $300 monthly, right? Before the JAD, the $250 monthly, you would now have to come up with that $300 from your savings, your salary, whatever, wherever the source is. So that's $300 you come up with to pay that utility bill. Now with the JAD, you're getting $250. So you pay that $250 towards your current bill. Then you basically now, out of your savings or your salary, basically have to put $50 more out of your pocket, so to speak, on that $250 for you now to satisfy the total of that utility bill, which is $300. So now, what happened to that $250 that did not come out of your pocket? That you should have been saving, or at least a portion of it. Yes, I know the cry is going to be that quote-unquote things are hard. I don't know how hard things really are and how we look at life and how we prioritize, but at least we know that it was quote-unquote free money, and I'm mindful in saying free money, because nothing is really free money, but quote-unquote free money. And that $250, you should have able to say, look, I would have been taking out $300 out of my right pocket to pay my bill. Now I only have to take out $50 out of my right pocket because I'm getting that $250. So it simply means now that $250 would have left back in your right pocket. You should have saved some of that, at least some of that. I don't know if I can be much clearer than that, caller.
Well, yesterday was the 30th day of June, 2025, which I thought was a historic day here on the island of Nevis, and by extension the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It was the day, Webbo, when the bids for the geothermal drilling were officially open in a Teams meeting at 4 p.m. yesterday, the 30th of June. I believe, Webbo, that exercise signaled, in my mind, a very forward-looking and forward movement as it relates to our geothermal project. My information, Webbo, is saying to me that we have had 5 drillers who would have shown some interest. A company by the name of Ormat International Incorporated, Consortium Drilling, Iceland Drilling, Marriott Drilling Group, and IPS Mexico. These 5 companies, Webbo, would have shown some significant interest in the geothermal project here on the island of Nevis. And that exercise took place yesterday at 4 p.m. where their bids were officially open. I believe that we will now go through an exercise where those bids will be analyzed. And I want to say to the people of Nevis that there are persons, no one in the government, so to speak, is involved with analyzing these bids. It's consultants and persons from CDB and all of those who are heavily involved in the process, NEVLEC. And we are eagerly looking forward, Webbo, to see who would be awarded this contract to do the drilling exercise as it relates to the exploration of geothermal on the island of Nevis. So the 30th of June, a very historic day here on the island of Nevis.
Well, let's see how historic that would be going forward. The reality is the expectations being fulfilled by the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, or Nevis and St. Kitts, as it relates to geothermal in their home and the impact of lower prices in energy, and of course all the spill-off that we expect to come with it. And why are we always asking people to save and not
invest?
Well, that sounds better. Invest and spend, because remember, saving is a leakage in the circular flow of income and expenditure, and we want to see more money in circulation.
But you can also save to invest.
Okay.
That's the last word. So this program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Join Keith Scarborough at 8 o'clock on Thursday evening for Government at Work, a place where you can spend all the evenings right here in the Eastern Caribbean Powerhouse. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. You all have a wonderful evening.
Opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily